Mic'd up, Francesco on the Fan. Yes Network here on a Friday. We'll touch base with the Mets as they welcome in the Braves with Eddie C. a little while. We'll get to some other things, including round 2 and 3 of the draft. We'll check in with who's left on the board that you got to be paying attention to and any trades. We'll touch on that a little later, too. Right now, we'll take a little tour of the stadium, the new Meadowlands Stadium, with the president and CEO of the stadium, Mark Lamping. Mark, welcome. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Okay. Mark gave me a guided tour today, so we spent a little time together. But I have all the statistics here. The thing that grabs you the most, as I was saying to John Mara, is that while it appears very much the same stadium, even a better sightline stadium, it's twice the size in square feet, which is remarkable when you think about it.
Yeah, the old stadium was just over 900,000 square feet, and this is over 2.1 million square feet with a seating bowl that's very similar, which was one of the great attributes of the old stadium, and a seating capacity that's just about 5% bigger.
When you decided to jump into this project, what was important for the teams and for you? And let me get to one other thing which is very important. You had to juggle both teams. Not always an easy thing. They are they are partners here. They are co-owners here. They are both in charge. They're both your bosses. How about the idea of dealing with both teams in this project?
Well, it's been interesting. I mean, the one thing I've learned, I've been up here now for 2 years, came from St. Louis, and these two teams have a lot more in common than they don't have in common. They are both very focused on winning. Winning is very, very important to both those franchises. They're both very much focused on quality and taking care of their fans. Now, obviously, they do have different cultures, and they go about things in a different way, but as I've worked very closely with both teams, there hasn't been a moment during the 2 years I've been here where both teams didn't act in the best interest of the stadium.
Now, the Jets have, as you've probably learned since you've come here, the Jets have been wandering for many years. They had a bad situation as the tenants at Shea Stadium. They didn't like the fact that they were tenants here and it was never their home. Have you sensed any of that in them as they went forward here? The idea that, hey, we got to get ours this time because, you know, this is our project too? Well,
they're certainly taking great pride in the opening of this new stadium, and the challenge we have, and I think the judge ultimately will be the fans. What we want to have happen is when Jet fans come in here that they truly believe that finally there's a Jet stadium, and do that in a way that when Giants fans come in here, they say, this is the way it's always been our stadium.
So the question is, on Giant days, how is it Giant Stadium, and on Jet days, how is it Jet Stadium? What changes?
Well, mostly through technology. If you look around the stadium today, it's a very neutral stadium, but we got a tremendous amount of video boards, not only inside the stadium, but also outside the stadium. It's through those video boards that we'll be introducing color. Now, obviously, the blue in the stadium on Giants games comes mostly from the fans, and the green on Jets games comes from Jets fans. But
right.
Many things throughout the stadium, even the wayfinding signs, the background can change from green to blue. The outside of the stadium on night games, it'll glow blue for Giants games, green for Jets games.
And the end zones will change.
This is the first time that there's been a field turf field where you can actually remove the end zone. So you're not going to have Jet logos painted over Giants logos. Each team will have a specially designed inlaid end zones that'll look very clean and crisp.
Okay, so you'll have a different identity for each one. Each group will have their own. Is there a Hall of Fame or a area for the nostalgia of each team to present inside the stadium, or is that not part of the stadium?
There's nothing specifically that's a shared portion of the stadium that'll be specifically focused on celebrating the heritage of either team. Now, the teams do have their own spaces within the stadium, their own separate locker rooms. They have some other team spaces, and they can choose to design those as they choose to. And I'm sure that there'll be some space within those that'll be dedicated to celebrating the history of the franchises.
The first thing that grabs you here, we're talking with Mark, who is the guy who runs the stadium. He is the president. Well, it's Meadowlands Stadium. Is it going to stay Meadowlands Stadium? Is there I know it's a very tough time now to find someone to come up with naming rights, and corporations are being really castigated if they get into such things. Has that created it to be a non-search, or is there a search now to find a partner?
No, there's still a search. It's times are tougher now than they may have been a few years ago, but the value proposition hasn't changed. I mean, here you are in the media capital of the world, biggest market of the U.S., perhaps the most important sports market in the world. You've got two iconic franchises in the world's most successful league, so there's a lot of value here.
There is? Are there people interested?
There's several companies that we're talking to. Nothing imminent, but we're confident we'll have a name on it.
All right, so right now it stays the Meadowlands Stadium, so it's not neither Giant or Jet. The thing that grabs you first is that here we are on the mezzanine level. there is very little territory from the field. You are very close in the seats to the field, whether you're in the upper deck or not. The upper decks do not go way out this way. You are very close to the field. They've done a very good job of keeping you, even in the upper deck, very close to the field.
It's a very tight seating bowl. The objective for both teams was to make sure they could do everything they can to replicate the old, but also make sure they create a home field advantage, and that's why you see the end zones that are closed in. It should be a very loud building.
What are the things fans want the most? Forget the guys who are in the luxury boxes. What is the guy who comes to the stadium, and your feedback from the work you do with this stuff, what is the thing the average fan wants when he comes to the ballpark?
I'm not sure it's that much different in this market or any other. When you drive here, you want to be able to get in quick. You want to be able to get out quick.
Get in and get out.
You want to be able to get to your seat, and you'll have a comfortable seat. When you're in the facility, you want to feel safe. When you want to go to the restroom, you don't want to have long lines. When you want to get up to get something to eat, you want to be able to get it and get back to your seat.
Okay, so no long lines and just get in and out. Just obvious stuff. Okay.
That's people make a big investment in time, and they make a big investment in money to come visit a facility like this to see their favorite team, and it's incumbent upon us to make sure they have the best possible experience.
And this place will, all these new stadiums have a lot more ways for people to spend their money. They really have upgraded the food in all these ballparks, right? That's the one thing you notice, whether it's a new Yankee Stadium or Citi Field or anything. I remember we're a town that hadn't had a new stadium in a long time. Now we've had 3 in a row very quickly, and we hadn't had one forever. But you notice there's a lot of new food courts and a lot of different food options which had not been there in the past.
Fans are more demanding today, and when you come into a facility like this compared to the old facility, there were about 250 places you could buy food and beverage in the old stadium, over 800 points of sale here.
800 different places, wow.
So not only shorter lines, but also gives us the ability to have a much bigger variety of food.
And does you've dealt with baseball stadiums before, would your baseball food be different than what you would put in a football stadium? Would it be different? Would it change, or would it be pretty much the same?
Yeah, I think
I know your football stadium's a little bigger, yeah. But I mean, would it change very much?
The staples are the same. You know, in most stadiums, doesn't matter if it's football or baseball, you're going to be selling a bunch of soft drinks, a bunch of hot dogs, a bunch of popcorn,
gotcha.
A bunch of nachos, depending on what market you're in. You know, one of the things we try to do with food here is to present football food. And, you know, most of the games are on Sundays. Sunday's a day where you'd like to kick back and relax. And, you know, there'll be some fancy food in here, but there really will be some real staples and some things that are real popular type food products that generally you wouldn't find in a stadium, but are very, very important here in the New York and New Jersey market.
We're talking with Mark Lamping, who is the new president CEO of the Meadowlands Stadium here. He has built a beautiful facility. I really believe when you folks get in here, and I know there's been a lot of, PSLs have really annoyed this fan base, and these have been 2 very loyal fan bases, especially the Giants. But I think people will be very happy with the stadium itself. It's a beautiful stadium. The sight lines are terrific. What are you proud of in the stadium? What do you say, boy, I think we did a really good job with this? What are you proud of in this ballpark?
You know, I think the seating bowl is wonderful, and the fact that the owners set out for this to be the best possible place to watch a football game. So not only the size and the number of the video boards, but where they're located in the seating bowl, they're at the mid-level instead of up top. And I think when fans come here, you know, they're going to be able to enjoy a football game like they never have before. And at the same time, easier to get in and out of the parking lots, easier to get in and out of the stadium. And once you're in here, easier to get to the restrooms and the concession stands.
What gives you the biggest headache? For you to undertake a job of this size, what gives you is it just staying on schedule like it would be